someone, really no one is watching me. What? Escape photo reference limitations. Me. All right. I'm just gonna guess probably no one is showing up here. I don't know. But okay. So what the heck are we doing here? We got cursor open. Now let's get Chrome back into the mix. And where we're starting here is I'm realizing there's a couple of things I wanted to set up in my WordPress theme and really just in my WordPress setup. And a lot of this is stuff that will be good to have in a starter theme. I'm probably going to put this up on Bits and Letters, my little agency's GitHub. So first things first, there's a lot of setup steps I'm going to skip here, but how to do WordPress development. How are we doing some WordPress development? There's a lot of great options out there. You can get Local, which is a Mac app that does WordPress hosting. There's actually a new thing. What is the thing even called? I think it's called like WP WordPress. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking for it. Yeah. Studio. So this is an app from Automatic. I don't know if they acquired it or what, but this one will run your app on a localhost port and has a couple little lovely extras that I have kind of borrowed as in terms of what it installs in WordPress for you by default. So you can get this thing. There's Laravel Valet, which is or Valet, I guess you could say, which is like more of a command line kind of thing. There's a lot of different ways. MAMP, but we're going to do something a little bit different because we want to use some tooling that we're using for other things. We're going to repurpose some other command line stuff. And also, we want to be able to bring Vite, Tailwind, and a few other lovely bits of business into this. So what we've done here is we've got Caddy. I think it's caddy.dev, or you can just Google it. And Caddy is a web server. It's written in Go. It's developed by a guy called Matt Holt. And it does a lot of really cool things. The most, first of all, it's a web server that has just really, really great simple configuration syntax, has a lot of really powerful features, convenient features built in, like the fact that you have a single directive, PHP fast CGI, for being able to run PHP stuff, built-in file server, logging, and built-in SSL. So to kind of read through what we're doing in this file, WordPress.localhost. First, let me prove that it works. Maybe because it's not running. Okay, so make this text bigger and make the window a little smaller. I could also do this in VS Code, but there are reasons why I don't want to. And this is actually hiding underneath me. Okay. Okay, so sudo caddy run, and I feel like there's got to be a way to do this without sudo. I have not found it yet, but what sudo is accomplishing here, caddy is going to need to make you an SSL certificate. It can do this entirely locally, but it's going to use your local machine SSL root certificate to sign everything, and for that it needs root access. It's also going to need root access to bind something to port 80 or port 443. So I feel convinced there is a better way to do this, but this does work. And the developer experience here is very much like, other than the fact that you have to sudo it, it's just like if you were running npm run dev on some other port here. So sudo caddy run. I have to enter my password. All right. So got a lot of stuff here for setting things up. And now give it a second. And we have the WordPress startup screen. So again, how did this all work? So in order to get to this, I'm just going to go open up like a new file. And let's say it's Markdown. All right. So how do we do this? Do a little shell file example. So first you just really, I think you just need a couple of homebrew things. Brew install caddy and brew install PHP. There are things you can do, and I won't cover them here, to get multiple PHPs. So as you see in here, like I have this pointed to PHP 8.3. I followed some instructions online that I can summarize another time. If there's interest, this would be a great excuse to leave a comment or a like or something and just let me know that people saw this. Where the local PHP FPM process that is being managed by Homebrew, I went into its configuration and made it so that 9083 is PHP 8.3. I also have 9074, which is PHP 7.4, and you could conceivably also have 8.2, 8.0, as many PHP versions as you want. The only cost to that is they're going to be running as separate PHP fastCGI daemons in the background, which on a modern Mac or Windows PC you probably won't notice. And this is a lot simpler than dealing with Docker, dealing with some other thing, or having to deal with like the very specific WordPress configuration that you need to have with local or any of the other apps. You can just sort of like use this for any PHP app. It's not specific to WordPress, and it is one configuration file that's extremely simple. Really the only downside, like I said, is you have to install these two things in Homebrew. I think you may need any like bindings, like if you need MySQL, if you need, you would say like, of course I need MySQL. We'll come back to that. But if you need any databases, anything else, you can install those separately. But I think the basics of a PHP setup, you can really just do with these two brew installs. I might test that on a fresh machine later just to make sure I'm right about that. But anyway, this is kind of what you need for your initial Homebrew setup. And then you just put in this file and you're ready to rock and roll. Now, over here, we can go through the WP admin setup. There's another thing, though, I want to do here. So part two, in this case, we don't necessarily want to have MySQL. We want to see if we can actually get away with not installing MySQL. Spoiler, I do have MySQL installed, but I don't necessarily want to use it for this, and I want to get to where I can eventually uninstall it. So some of the apps that I named, like WP Engine's local app, MAMP, they include MySQL as part of the setup. And if you're doing a lot of other database-driven development, you might want MySQL or MariaDB. But what we're going to do instead for this moment is, first let me just confirm where I hid this for myself. Okay. And there we go. So this is something that I started developing on a different setup. I want to say with might have been a caddy file kind of thing. I don't remember what I was doing here. This was weeks ago, but all right. So opening this up, and if you look in here in public and WP content, you have a couple things. You have a db.php, and then you have a folder under MU, must use plugins, SQLite database integration. This will make it so that you can have a SQLite database, a file system database, very performant, very good, it's very demure. I don't know if I'm using that correctly. So you can use that plugin, which is something that the WP Studio app installs for you by default. I have not. I'm considering trying this in production because I think in this day and age, SQLite is very, very good for small production workloads. But first things first, I'm now trying to remember, like, okay, how do I do a split? Split horizontally. There we go, because I wanted to keep this all in one window. So we still got caddy up here doing its thing. We're going to go into our code WP dev environment folder, and then we're going to go into cd content plugins. This, by the way, I've set up and symlinked into WordPress so that at the root level here, I can easily get to themes and plugins. And this should all still be available for use inside of a single WordPress install, which is in the public directory. All right, so cd content plugins, and then we are going to do cpr sites demory.localhost public content, and then we want from mu plugins SQLite database integration, and we put that into. We may get told that one of these folders doesn't exist. Actually, let's get ahead of this by doing mcdir p Okay, actually I'm realizing I'm just doing this wrong. Sorry, I forgot what I was doing. mcdir mu plugins. All right, so now we're going to do cpr sites depcon, and we want mu SQLite database integration, and we put that in plugins, and then just go over here and confirm that it's there. Got it. The other thing we need is going to be cp and we want that. We need that to go here, I think. Anything I'm forgetting? All right. We got db.php, we got the mu plugin, I think that, and then the database is where the actual SQLite file will live. We don't need to worry about this though, because WordPress will create this for us automatically. So if we were to go ahead and hit reload, it didn't create it yet, but here we are. Let me also just check, is there anything I need to do in WP config? This might also be a fine time to be able to do this. So demory.localhost. I think many of these things don't actually need to be set. Many of these are set for you automatically. We are, however, going to go ahead and put in a couple of items. Some of these could probably be in variables passed in from the caddy file, but let's do them here first. So wp config. Oh, actually, here's a thought. I'm just realizing you can just probably skip a step and do this. All right, public, new file, wp config.php. Now, trying to remember, where's the, okay, there we go. We can use the, let's go and do that real quick. Get a fresh set of these to put in here. And I think that should do it. Okay, so let me just also reload. All right, try installing now. Cool, cool. All right, famous 5-minute installation process. Did it create a database? Yes, it did. All right, so we got our database. So let me just go through these things. The database settings in this WP config, when I'm done, I'm going to be putting a lot of this on GitHub as a starter project. I need it to be able to start up new WordPress projects, but I'm also going to share it on GitHub and probably put a comment on here so people can find it if you find this video around later. The database settings have to still be here, I think. I think it will break WordPress if they're not, but because of the other stuff that we added, the database.php and the mu plugins, these two files here, they tell WordPress to use your local SQLite file instead of any of this information. So this has to be here, but the values don't mean anything and they're not going to get used. Here, since I copied this over from another project, these salts, you want to have automatically generated for you at this URL, and then just copy them back in. This is like cryptographically fresh, random stuff. For local development, it probably doesn't matter, but it's so easy to get fresh information here. Save the table prefix. I think if you're doing anything really, really custom or complicated with WordPress, you probably need to I don't know. You may yet need to. What am I trying to do over here? Sorry, what was I saying? If you're doing anything really, really custom that depends on or assumes MySQL, you probably couldn't use the SQLite database integration. But for something that's completely net new, it's probably fine. And truth be told, I have not actually found an instance yet where it won't work. So there's that. Anyway, all right. And then you got all this stuff. The last things I added here, by the way, I am going to go ahead and set WP debug to true because this is local. And I've set both WP env and WP environment type to development and local. And this means that there's a function called get WP environment type that is used to determine what environment you're in, and which we're going to use in some functions for when we wire up Vite. All right. So this is all looking pretty good. Okay, cool. So we've got all of this stuff, and then I'm just going to make my note here. I'm like putting here is like set up wp-config.php and just copy the one in place. Okay, next up for us is, we can go through the setup here in a second, and maybe we should. Let's actually go ahead and say like, awesome. And I'm going to just get it. This is purely local, so I'm going to type in a not strong password, which is hello WP. It's very weak. I'm going to confirm the use of the weak password. David at bitsandletters.co, also the place where you can send all of your, hate mail. And the rest of it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we've got this. We're going to log in as David hello WP, and we've got the admin. Cool, cool. All right, what now? Now, if we were to pull this up on the front end, we've got a very, very basic theme. I think this is, what is this? Is this like the 2025 theme already? What is it? No, 2024. It's like a default settings, 2024 theme, default content, all that good stuff. So what all else do we need to do here? The next thing that we want to do is we actually want to clean this theme out completely. So something I need to copy over from another repo, which we will do now, is all right. So code WP starter theme, right? Yeah. So we want. Here's a question of like, do I want to have this like? How do I want to do this? I think how I'm going to do this is let's keep this as its own Git repo, but let's go into themes and we'll use symlinking again. So lns code WP starter theme as WP starter theme. Should work. All right. So we go into appearance, we go into themes. Style sheet is missing. Yeah, that would be a problem. Okay, so now I'm actually not going to use the same cursor window. Let me just check. Do I have this in another? Let's open a new window, and let's open WP starter theme in its own window. Let's close that. Make it huge. I'm going to tell it don't show again. I've set up a dev container in here, but as you can see, we're doing a different folder. Don't show it. I'm actually going to say don't show again for any folder. I don't use dev containers much. All right, where are we? I'm also, the other thing, I'm going to take a moment and see like, okay, how do I get to my like Tools, Windows, View, Multi-View. Okay, Scene List. I'm like, is there a chat window? Scene Collection. Okay, Tools, Scripts. Might be that there isn't one. Settings, appearance, style. Alright, I might need to pull this up. I'm actually gonna, I'm a little bit like, I'm gonna switch to the Restream dashboard. I also want to be like, is there chat? Chat overlay? All right, anyway. So my chat's finally open. I'll be able to see it if anyone were to show up. Okay, so we're back here in the starter theme, and this has been now linked in. As you can see, the issue was there's not a style sheet, so we need to fix that. Let's actually just pop in here real quick into like 2024, and I just want to get, because this is like an empty style sheet because this is just here for its metadata. That's all we want it for too. So we're going to do style.css. We're going to paste all this in. And it's in letters.co, author. And the author URI. Same. All right, description is decided to be versatile, etc., etc. A good start. I think we can leave a lot of these other things. I am going to say this is version 1.0, and let's go ahead and take the tags. I do want to say it's another thing I'm probably not going to use, but anyway, now that we have this, we don't have the screenshot, but we do, of course, have the theme itself. What happens if we activate it? All right. File theme without header PHP is deprecated. With no alternative, include the... See, I generated part of this theme using AI, and I asked Claude, hey, is it true that you could do without header.php? And they're like, no, yeah, it's totally fine. You can use these template parts. No, that's not how it works. All right, so what we want to do then, I think, is we either want a wrapper, or I think more likely we want to take... all right, so just to like recap, what are we doing right now? We're getting to where this theme works and doesn't throw any errors. So starting with the header, make this a little smaller. All right, we've got a bunch of stuff here, including some stuff that I'm like, did it generate this or did I? I don't remember. Either way, though, we're gonna fix it. Okay, so we're gonna add a new file, header.php. All right, and then we're gonna go into, now index is gonna do get header. Cool, did what we wanted. And then for get footer, similar, new file. Since we have a similar problem, and we've got footer.php. Got it. All right, and now we can take both of these and delete them. Now, the next thing, we might need to look at a couple other, some other prior art here. We've got, I'm actually going to take out Let's get rid of compose YAML and the dev container and these dev scripts. And instead, and I'm going to go ahead and delete the dist folder, even though it'll come back. And what we want now instead is so we need to open up functions. This is, by the way, going to be another kind of a meta topic, is cleaning up after AI. Okay, so one thing we want to check on here. So this is the next thing. This is moving on to the next thing that we're playing with here, which is wrapping some styles. And this we can do before we set up Vite, before we set up anything else. Let me also I got rid of the dist folder. Yeah, I wasn't doing anything. Okay, cool. So wrapping some of your basic styles in a layer. And I have a theory, this thing that was generated by Claude AI, Claude or Cursor AI, is not actually going to work. But elsewhere on the machine, in that demory.localhost project that we just borrowed some other stuff from, I do have a version that works. So let's find out first if this worked. So let's open up DevTools. And I should step back a minute and kind of explain. Yeah, theme inline CSS, globals inline CSS. This did nothing. Okay. Stepping back a bit to explain what we're doing and why. Where we want to end up, I might end up repeating this later when we get more of the setup in place, is we're going to use Tailwind CSS to style all of this. And by default, Tailwind will apply a reset to everything inside the page that will take away all of WordPress's default styles. And that includes theme styles, theme.json styles that we might want to keep, because we're going to want to use theme.json to style all of our block content and have the block styles be consistent across both our front end and our back end, the admin and the front end. So we want both of these things. We want Tailwind to have its clean slate reset, to be able to style different parts of the design any way we want. But inside of content areas, any place that we're putting out block content, we want to be able to undo all of that reset. And we may yet still put some custom styling on top of that, but we want to largely have WordPress manage all of that. So the reason why it's challenging to do that is either you need to make sure that you kind of have two approaches here. You can make sure that Tailwind loads before any other styles, which is a completely valid option. And then you let WordPress override things on top of that. And that means that you won't get complete reset. You will get some overall element styles, like for headings and paragraphs, applied on top of what Tailwind is doing. So they're not going to be isolated from each other. There is a newer CSS syntax feature that all the current browsers support called Cascade Layers. And what they allow you to do is control the order in which CSS styles are applied. By default, anything that is unlayered will override anything that is layered. So you want to make sure, if you want to have control over this, what we actually want is for WordPress's styles to be loaded first as a cascade layer, maybe called WordPress. Then we want Tailwind styles to come in as either one or several cascade layers. Ideally, we want to use the different cascade layers for base, for components, and for utilities, which is very normal for Tailwind. And the kicker here, the thing that we're really aiming for, is for our block content area, let's say for one div, we want to be able to do an unset or a revert layer, which will say within this one area, we are stepping back one layer, we're undoing Tailwind's base style modifications, and we're going back to what was there before, which is WordPress. And Cascade Layers let us do this. I have it working in another repo. So we're going to start bringing this over piece by piece so that we can start doing this. And I think before the Tailwind of it all, I might at least just do something in a static CSS file just to demonstrate how this works. Okay, Cascade Layers in the WordPress. Let's do it. All right, where are we? We need to go into, okay, demory.localhost was the file. So we need to, do I still have this minimized or something or what? Let's minimize you. And let's open you. And I have cursor tab turned off. I'm using cursor, but I'm using it like VS Code because sometimes I'm just not in the mood. All right, so here we are. Make this a little smaller. Make this a little bigger. Okay, so here's what we rated to get SQLite into this theme project or into our WordPress before. So now we're going to go into themes, and we have a theme that I started called Boomer. I think I called it Boomer just because I was trying to think of a name. It needed to be kind of random, and I have this Mark Maron WTF coffee mug covered with cats, one of whose name is Boomer. Anyway, it's not that interesting. So we've got a few things in here that are not that interesting, like Composer or Carbon Field, so we're going to skip a lot of that. Instead, what we are going to do is I'm going to pull up the functions PHP, and I'm going to copy all of this in, but I'm going to get rid of the things that are not specific to this theme because we are starting here. So I am going to keep a few things. So let's get rid of the Carbon Field stuff. Carbon Fields is a great library. It's free. I think it's a great thing to have in a starter theme, so it may come back, but for now I just want to keep this a little bit simple. Okay, so here we've got encode style WP get style sheet URI. Yeah, like why exactly did I do that? What did I have in my style CSS that was useful? Well, I don't know. Okay, so we're doing something a little interesting here, which I think this is kind of the only thing you have to do to make this work. I'm going to go up and, because we haven't done any of these yet, we're going to comment them out. But this part can stay. So in our WP enqueue scripts action, and I, for the life of me, do not remember why I'm enqueuing this CSS. I might have just been there already, but let's get past that. We want to wrap the global styles in a WordPress cascade layer. And so WP Global Styles, the Global Style CSS is interesting because it's an inline style, and the hooks you normally have for being able to filter or mess with the output of an inline style are not as robust as they are as they are for linked styles. I don't know if it's because it's a newer feature or whatever, but basically you need to do a little bit of surgery. Now here at this point, because it's part of a core style, it has been registered with the WP Styles style manager. And so you can get to its registered styles, global styles, and then you can go into, now the extra after is basically the array that actually brings in, it actually contains the styles themselves. So when you bring this in, you are saying start, actually, like replace the content of after, replace the content of these styles with a new array consisting of everything that was there before, preceded by @layer WordPress, and followed by a closing curly brace. Unless there's an error, this should work. All right, no difference at all, but let's go in and look. And as you can see, now we have a bunch of stuff now on layer WordPress, which is great. So you have the implicit outer layer, and then you have WordPress. Cool, cool, cool. So let's go ahead into the top of, since we are using this file, I was kind of shitting on it, but let's take advantage of the fact that we loaded it. And so first we want to do layer WordPress and then BNL base, okay? Now, inside layer BNL base, let's do something kind of nuts. Unset all. And we're gonna go over here. We're gonna reload. A little bit like this. Why is this not working? BNL body. Ground color pink. So that worked. Oh, it's because I did this backwards. Unset. Oi. So that's a little more than you wanted, because it's also like displaying script tags. So it would be more like, okay, let's actually, let me find something. Yeah. What's a good one? I think we want Andy Bell CSS reset. More modern CSS reset. Copy to clipboard. All right. And we're going to replace this reset with WordPress's reset, but this is just as a demonstration. So inside of our BNL base, let's go ahead and reset a bunch of stuff. Except this is just tidying things up. God damn it. I think what we want then is normalize CSS. Copy the raw file. All right, so Andy's reset is actually a really good reset. That might be what you want for this case, but it's not what we're trying to demonstrate right now. What we wanted was, for the heaven's sake. Okay, let's actually look up Tailwind pre-flight. I swear to you, if Tailwind were actually in use here, if Tailwind were actually in use here, you would see a pretty obvious change. Headings are unstyled. Helps you avoid accidentally deviating. Oh, there we go. That's the full pre-flight style sheet, right? That's it. All right. So this is what we want. Everything after. Okay, now let's see if that worked. Yes, lovely. Okay. Now if we open up the header, we can see a few things that have been applied that, I mean, we don't have Tailwind in use, so there's some things here that are probably like, you know, not totally visible, but, and as you can see, like there's some things that are happening like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, like there's some stuff here like using the theme function. So there's some things that are just not working right because this is not really Tailwind. We're going to fix that, but the thing that I wanted to be able to demonstrate here in a more of a sandbox environment is let's open up, I don't know, I guess permalink, the excerpt is your first post. Gate header. Let me just check. Is this the template we're on? It should be. Whoa. All right. Oh, it's because it's this one. It's home, obviously. Okay. So we have a few things going on here. You just add something to confirm. Is this actually where we are? Hello. Yep. Okay. That's where we are. All right. So, where were we? We're not going to do all these Tailwind styles. What I wanted to be able to do, though, is that, let's say, revert. I'm going to put in a class name called BNL-revert layer. All right. And now, when we go over here, revert layer star right, now we're gonna put a little, let's do a little padding, 0.5 rem, ground color white. Okay, so to re-explain and unpack what's going on here. Inside this div, you've got all the default WordPress styles going on. Outside of it, you have Tailwind styles. And there are a few things that might still, you can kind of have supersede all of this. And let me do a demo of that in a second. But basically, like if you wanted to, for example, use theme.json, let's actually bring over the good one instead of the bad one. Where are you? Because this was generated by AI and I don't trust it. There's a lot of stuff that's not necessarily going to work, but anyway. So, you know, we can do something fun down here where we say blocks, core paragraph, welcome to WordPress. This is your first post. And let's go ahead and say, like, I don't know. I just want to demonstrate that this would work. Color. FF00, FF. Property color is not allowed, huh? Where does... Oh, these are also variations. Never mind. Okay, there we go. WP block heading plus. These are some settings that are also applied. Got it, got it, got it. Okay. So instead of that, let's just go ahead and like change this to something that we know will work, which is like system UI. All right. But oh, it's because this is not actually a. It's not actually a heading from the database. All right, let's do this instead. Font family, Comic Sans MS. Okay, so this is more evident from the spacing than anything, but I think that in the Tailwind baseline style, font family theme, font family sans, let's go ahead and just say like we wanted to go with something like Verdana. Oh, Knackers. Yeah, we're kind of detail-winding this for a second. And let's get rid of these these dudes too. All right. Font family Verdana. Getting close to where I should probably just set up Tailwind and be done with it, but a little bit like, why is this not working? So where is this coming from? Watercolor. All right, so yeah, this quick links thing. Where's its font family? Ah, okay. Campos text. And this is coming from layer WordPress. Okay, so this is in fact it doing its job. where the body font, so I'll show you where this is being set. Okay. Typography, styles, where's like the, okay, yeah, there we go. So baseline font family and stuff is being set here. So rather than use my preset, which is a font I haven't loaded into this project, let's just go ahead and say Verdana is what we want. And we want the default font size to be actually 16px. And voila, we have Verdana. All right. And then for paragraphs, that same style sheet is saying that we are setting Comic Sans. Now, if we go in here, rather than setting Verdana, let's set something like Georgia Serif. Now, what should be happening it might just be this isn't loading. I'm like, why wouldn't it be? Okay. Oh, no, some things are in here. Yeah, that's in here. So what the heck? Oh, it's because I'm applying this to the wrong spot. There you go. Okay. Now this is also... Oh, you know what it is. I figured it out. Okay. So I think what we want is actually going to be BNL revert, comma, BNL revert layer star. And then let's actually move this down. And I think that will do what we want. To maybe, kind of, not sure. Okay. Well, let's actually just go ahead and live streaming this may have been a mistake. Okay, BNL revert layer. Let's actually then go ahead and do like family. All right, I think actually what we need, I think this is going to be a bit, maybe this will work. Family. Font family on set. Okay. Took a minute. Let me explain this, and then I'm going to turn this off so I can eat some lunch and come back later, and I might just record rather than stream. Okay. So what we've done here, at the WordPress layer, if we were to open up one of these paragraphs. So at the WordPress layer, as set in our theme.json, all the way down here, all the way over here, we've set Comic Sans MS as the font family for paragraphs. You don't really want that, but you know what I mean. So this is coming out of WordPress, and this is going to be rendered out as we see in DevTools, as root where p, that's the specificity. And then that is being overridden in BNL base by font family unset. And that's just going back to a default, going back to basically what's on the body tag. If you get rid of this, the WordPress style comes in and it's set in Comic Sans. But up here, we have one that is, again, set in Comic Sans. And that is because, inspect, this paragraph has revert layers applied. If we were to uncheck this, actually you can see everything here now has all of its spacing removed because it's back in the Tailwind universe. If you tell it all revert layer, the original spacing and other things, including font family, come back into play. And here you kind of need to that because BNL base is still a little bit more specific. In real life, you wouldn't necessarily do this. So it's actually like, get rid of that. It falls back to Comic Sans MS. But here we're reverting some changes. So this will be even more evident once Tailwind comes into the picture. But for now, I am going to turn this off and go eat some